Alright YouTube, what is going on? It is ConflctNerd Cam here today, bringing you episode number 26, I believe we're on to, of my Transport Fever Let's Play. Let's get Scotland moving. So the first thing I have to say is that it is sunny in Scotland. You wouldn't believe it. It's got up to about 15 degrees centigrade. I know, I can't believe it. Literally, it's a heat wave across Scotland. But with heat, for me, it becomes a little bit of an issue, or it's the contrast between cold and heat. And this is something which I may have mentioned before, but especially in the springtime and I guess America calls it fall, we call it autumn. I have sinusitis, which is basically an issue with my nose that if there's a contrast in air, then I basically get a runny nose. And because it's gone from so cold to warm, it's been quite a contrast, and I'm a little bit ill. Unfortunately, you can probably tell it in my throat, which is something which I absolutely hate because I just want to sit around and play video games all day. But it just makes commentating a little bit more difficult, and I feel my voice sounds awful right now. So first of all, I do apologise about that. The next thing is the update, the patch, which is coming out shortly. It is around the corner, and there has been a beta out for that, which is quite exciting. I did jump on the beta, and the beta was a lot smoother. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was much smoother than what we're currently playing with right now. There was one or two issues I would say that need to be resolved before the final thing, but it was like beta testing, so I'm sure they would have picked up on it. Now, the reason I'm not playing it is because it's not stable, and I don't want to go ahead and I have like multiple saves. Like if we jump in here to save, you can see the amount of different saves I have. So for every single episode, I go ahead and make 2 saves. So I've got plenty of saves, but the bottom line is it's not actually stable. So that means that if I was to go ahead and do something and then try reload it later on, it might not actually work. So that's why we're still in the old version of the game. Now, right now it is Sunday the 26th of March I'm recording this. This should go out on Wednesday the 29th, I believe. And then I'm probably going to record the next episode straight after this as well. There's still no more news on when the update's coming out, so I'm just really excited and I'm waiting for it, and it's going to be great when it comes, but it's not come yet. So that is something which I'm hoping again it still comes by the end of the month, but I'm not really at all sure. I also got asked the question the other day, how many episodes of the series are you going to do? I've now penciled in 50 episodes of this series into my schedule, so let's put it this way, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a bloody long one. So in today's episode, we're going to go ahead and deal with goods, and that's why here we're starting off at the Elgin North Food Line Factory. That was a combination of the North Food Line and also the Elgin Food Processing Plant. So there are one or two things which I want to draw your attention to today. So the first one is that we're producing a lot of food, and I mean an extremely large amount of food. So as we can see here, the production is at 800, but the good thing is it's consistently at 800, which is great. You can see here that the ZF Peterhead is doing absolutely amazing. It is in the 500Ks, which is good. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to pull these older trucks off actually. That's a nice round, 12 trucks on there, 15 trucks? 12 trucks on there, so that's a good amount I think. So I'll go ahead and pull those guys off, and I can turn off auto update I think, or I'll put it on at 100% actually. That's fair enough. And that's doing relatively well, which is good. Now the problem is the Elgin one isn't, and that's something which is very strange. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the vehicles and see if that actually makes a difference, because I'm not really at all sure if it will make much of a difference. But the problem is, we are producing so much food, and that's great. The trains are coming in consistently, and they're full every single time, near enough. There's no livestock coming down though, that's a bit of a shame. But we'll go ahead and investigate that issue in a second. But here, I would say there's more food being sent onto the Peterhead line. It was much worse earlier on than the Elgin line, and I think that's really the Elgin line is missing out, unfortunately. So that is something which I need to go ahead and try. I don't really know how this is done. So when food is made in here at the Elgin Food Processing Plant, it comes into here. How does it assign it by line? I'm not really at all sure. Does it just choose randomly? Oh, it's going to be this line, it's going to be that line. I'm not really 100% sure, so I think Elgin just needs a little bit more food. That's the bottom line, because if we jump into Elgin, and again, I can't do too much about the game issues, I do apologise. It's at only 19% food, which is mediocre, which I feel the amount of food we're producing from here we could do much better. But then if we jump along here to Peterhead, for example, we'll be able to see that Peterhead is probably double that, if not more, if this goes ahead and loads. So yeah, there we go. As you can see, it's at 41%, nearly at a population of 3,000, which is pretty insane actually. But all in all, I think we need to go ahead and maybe distribute our food a little bit better. In general though, I would say that the trucks are relatively profitable, bar the Elgin food route, everything's doing well. And then the Northern Food Line itself, it's up at 8 million, and considering we were losing like 7 million at one point, that is just such a contrast. Absolutely amazing work all around there, and it's relatively consistent. To be fair though, with the livestock issue, and that's dropped a little bit, I think it's due to a livestock issue up here at the farms, which we can go ahead and investigate. We can see that, yeah, we're just not really producing too much more livestock anymore. So I maybe know why this is actually. So I went ahead and modified some of the trains to basically be able to bring food back up here. So when I made the modification and deployed the new trains, I basically just set them all to be all grain and all livestock. So that meant food couldn't come back up. So I've changed, I mean you can barely see this here, but 2 of the trains have been left for just livestock, but 2 of them carry food back up as well, which is good. However, I think that's maybe affecting my livestock issue now, so that's something which isn't too good, because all we're seeing coming out of here is grain, which really isn't a bad thing at all. You're not connected. That is really strange. Like, you're doing extremely well, but you're just not connected at all. You're not in the sphere of influence though. Oh, that's the problem. Right, okay. Oh, okay, right, I'm gonna try and sort this out very quickly. Right, there we go. So that should hopefully go ahead and solve that problem. Not really at all sure. From as far as I know, this farm, since we built it, has been actively working, but obviously not. So that should hopefully go ahead. We can already see livestock coming into here, which is much better now. That production should increase, and overall, we should start to see more food, and that issue really solve itself going forward, which is better. Production at this original Verzo farm is extremely high, and it's something which I think is good, but it's better, I feel, to spread it across multiple farms. It just makes things a lot easier, and it also means you're not just dependable on the one farm either, which is good. So jumping away from the food in Thurzo, and if we come down here, we can see that we are slowly but surely, I'm going to go ahead and start this boat up again actually. We can see that we're starting to produce iron up here, so the iron is not at a very fast rate at all, which is a real shame. We've got 2 boats running the route down to Fife, I believe it is, and slowly but surely, we're going to be bringing iron from here. I mean, the boats take an incredibly long time to go from all the way up there all the way down to here. Not really at all sure. The other boat's here actually, and it's only got 51 iron on it, so it's really not a lot at all, and I don't really know how profitable this is going to be. I reckon this is probably going to actually lose us quite a bit of money. As we can see right now, the frequency is every 22 minutes, which that's maybe a little bit too slow, so unless that improves, we might have to go ahead and axe that, but that is basically to just bring more iron down here to give us more profit. That's really what I'm wanting. As we can see right now, this place has upgraded up to a limit of 800, which is nice, but it's not really got above 400 for quite a while, and there's a little bit of inconsistencies at the... Right now we've not got the warnings, but in Glasgow there's been some inconsistencies about trying to ship more items, and that is something which we need to go ahead and will resolve in this episode. The trains are coming into here thick and fast, but the real issue is that there's not enough steel for the trains. This train here can carry 130, but there's only 60 steel being produced, so we really need to go ahead and fill that. So we've dealt with the iron side, and we're going to go ahead and, I mean, the coal's coming in fine, it looks like. I think the coal here, it's not the highest production, but what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and help it out, and we're going to connect up this here, which is Stirling Coal Mine. So how is this going to work exactly? Well, I'm hoping that we can go ahead and not have to build an extra station. That's my hope here. However, I could go ahead and move this if necessary. What I am going to do is add in a second street connection, and if I go ahead and do that, I can't do that. I probably can do it actually, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make this work. Right, there we have it. So that's the second street connection. Now what I want to do is I want to have that intersecting up at this junction here. Then I've got a feeling this is going to be just a little bit too much out of sphere of influence. Or is it? No, it's not. Right, that is very, very good. So, right now, we have to modify the train type, I think, though. So right now, if we go ahead and zoom in here, this is the current, because I made the modification, the trains, I think, glitched out here, which is a bit unfortunate. But, right now we're carrying steel through here. I'm just trying to think, are we going to need different wagons to take coal back? I think we are going to need to do that. So as we can see here, I don't know why you're waiting for free path. I think I need to go ahead and deal with this issue here because this train's glitched out. So right now, as we can see, these steel cars, they're very open, the wagons, and that's not really going to work for coal, I don't think. So if I jump into here, from what I can remember, the wagon type was a state car of some sort. I think it was, yeah, down here. So I believe this is what we're using carrying steel. So that works for process, but not raw materials. So that is something which I need to go ahead and see if I can find something in here which can carry both. And my worry is I'm not going to be able to. If I could carry both on the same train, that would be great. It would mean that it makes money going one way and the other way. But by the looks of it, we're not going to be able to do that. So I might have to run separate trains, which, I mean, that isn't a bad thing at all. The only issue is that it is going to mean that we're missing out on just a little bit of money, really. So we're going to have to go ahead. Unfortunately, there's just no wagons which can carry both steel and coal. So that means I'm going to have to go ahead and put a new train onto the line. So what we're going to go for is we're going to keep the same line, which is logical because it's a relatively direct line and it works. And we're going to the exact same place anyway, so it'll be for the best going forward. What I think we're going to do is, when you drop stuff off, I'm actually going to return you in here because evidently, as we can see, this is only carrying 21 steel, so there's need for 2 steel trains, but no need for 3. And if we're going to be adding on a new train onto the line anyway to carry coal, then I don't want to have the line overcrowded. Not that it would necessarily be overcrowded, but it just might mean there might be a few difficulties at each end at the station here at Glasgow and the one just to the south of Dundee. So once this drops off all the steel, which again really isn't a lot, I mean that is 322k there, which is nice, but if that train was full then it would be making a lot more money, which is something which long term I think we'll get to when we're carrying more coal from here back up to south of Dundee, and when the Thurso boat, hopefully that makes more profit with the iron, but until we get more raw materials over there then we're just not going to see the need for this train. Right, so you're going to return into the depot. I'm probably going to go ahead and sell you because, and yeah, as we can see, another train's coming along here and you've got 19 steel, so it's literally getting worse and worse. Now we're down to 2 trains on there though, it might make a difference, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. So you're coming into the depot here and I'll probably sell that train, or I'll maybe keep it for the time being but go ahead and use it later. But we're going to go ahead and build our new train now to carry coal. Now, I got suggested by someone in the comments to go ahead and use this, the BR Class 47, which is the train we have been using, but they wanted to see the ESW Maroon, I believe it was. Not really at all sure why. It is very similar, I believe it's just painted different essentially, so we'll go ahead and grab this, and it's a little bit of a change because we have just been using non-stop the BR Class 47 rail freight, which again is a very nice train, but maroon is a very nice colour. It is the colour of the football team I support, which in Scotland is called Heart of Midlothian, which not many people would have heard of probably if you don't live in Scotland because it's not that large team. In saying that, it is probably one of Scotland's top 5 clubs, I guess you would say, but it's outside of Scotland, it's not really got much, it's not well known. So what I think I'm going to do as well is actually make the wagons maroon. So the default colour is relatively maroon anyway, it says it's brown there. Maybe I'm a little bit colourblind, but I mean, is that brown or is that dark red going on maroon? I think that's dark red going on maroon because brown's 2 tiles over. So I think what we're going to go ahead and do is now we need to carry coal and coal only here. I mean, that's the only thing that can be carried. So we'll go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's a capacity there for 130 raw coal materials there, which is good. And for the time being, we're just going to start off with the 1 train, I think, because again, there's not really need to go ahead and start off with 3 and withdraw. I'd rather just start off with the 1 and then add, because that's probably the easiest thing to go ahead and do. So I'll go ahead and set that onto the Fife Glasgow steel line, and that's will trot out, and we'll come back and see how that is doing later in the episode. So again, that is really just to go ahead and try and produce more steel, which as we can see, steel production's down to into the 200s, so it's continuing to drop, and as we can see, there's just not a lot of steel moving. That's really the bottom line. Also, as I was noticing there was some issues with trains turning up which didn't have a lot of planks on them, and I can see why. So it looks like every train, I think, either carries 117 planks, or to be fair, that train's full. Yeah, it's 117, so I think they all carry 117, which logically makes sense just to be able to go into the station, but I did notice out the corner of my eye that 1 or 2 trains were empty. As we can see here, this train is going to leave not full. I mean, it's going to be relatively full, but not quite full, so it's a little bit of a loss of money there, which we can go ahead and I think accommodate for. Again, I'm going to do some more ship upgrading shortly. We need to turn our attention to the ships and to the skies, actually. That's something which we'll maybe do later on in this episode or in the next. Now the thing was, earlier on or just before I was recording this episode just flying around, there was so much more demand to get logs moved. But now it looks like production's just dropped a little bit here. So maybe we're not going to get the trains filled up. What I think I'm going to do though is that definitely for the Prestwick one here, this is the Prestwick Forest. For those who don't know, I'm going to go ahead and add on 1 or 2 more trucks because right now, yes, there is, I guess, 2 trucks worth of capacity here, but earlier on there was like, I don't know, maybe 200 logs or so waiting here, so I could definitely see we're maybe at the lower end of the fluctuation right now, and as I said, there are trains which are waiting to go ahead and fill up a little bit more, so we might as well go ahead and do it because if we can fill up those trains a little bit better, then we might as well. So again, I'm going to go ahead and buy 1, 2 of you guys, and I'm just going to go ahead and set you onto the ZC, or no, it's ZW Prestwick Stranraer. So there we go. So that's a little bit complicated. As we can see though, there's now, I mean, there's a full train's worth, and there's no train in sight, so it's a little bit random. I mean, the bottom line is, it's just the fluctuation. That's really how it all works. Right, so with that done, let's turn our attention actually into what is going on here. So it's basically the output. So as we can see, the output from the factories here it's doing relatively well. As we can see, it looks like a lot of, I think, wood just got delivered in here, which I really like that touch about the processing factories, is that you can see everything actually in the courtyard, I guess, of the individual factory, all the goods. You can't select and see how many goods are actually actively here, but it's nice to see the wood, and you can also see the steel in the center as well there. So the production though of this factory and the goods factory isn't producing a lot, to be fair. It is producing a little bit, but not a lot. Again, if we bring more resources here, then we'll be able to have a larger output. But the output right now, we are seeming to have a relatively large output, which is good overall. So what I'm maybe thinking of doing is creating a second route which goes into Stirling, because if we can go ahead and do that, then we might as well. Glasgow right now, if we check on Glasgow, then overall, we're not doing too great, if I'm honest, actually. So the shopping facilities are only at 5%, and that is, I mean, that's awful. The goods is a little bit better, and then the machinery it's not bad. So instead of creating a new Stirling, actually, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to maybe add on 1 or 2 extra trucks for the Glasgow. So if I jump in here and add on 2 new box trucks, then we go ahead and we jump down and find the correct line, which is the Z Glasgow Goods and Tools, then that should hopefully go ahead and help clear that backlog. And right now, for the first time in a long time, we do not actually have any issues with factories, which is something that rarely happens. There's always an issue somewhere, really. That's the bottom line. Right, let's fly out to Islay, because Islay is a place we've not been to in a while, and oh my words, we can see that there is a lot of production out here. So the farms are doing well. Farms really usually sit at maybe about 375, but right now it looks like they're at an extra 100. So there's a strong possibility I could go ahead and add in an extra train or 2. But right now, even this train's having to wait, maybe for only a few seconds, that is. But there's a possibility of going ahead and adding in an extra train. Right now, I've got the feeling there should be 4 trains. There's 4 trains on this track, so I don't really want to put too many more on, but at the same time, I'm just trying to have a look. Is there a chemical plant down here which we could go ahead and move grain to? Because that is something which I think would be quite a good idea. So it doesn't look like there is, unfortunately, or there is all the way over here. But I think that's maybe too long a journey, and I think that would be a little bit unnecessary and just a bit too complex. Or would it? I'm just trying to think, would it or would it not? Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a question for you. Should I start to move grain from Islay all the way down to Newcastle? That's a possibility which I'm thinking about in the north, but I could also do it down south as well. So coming back into Glasgow here, we can see that coal is starting to build up here, which is good. Not very much production, but some production. Finally now the Glasgow factories are now starting to moan, so we need to go ahead and ship more items. More items are coming, hopefully. It just really depends on the demands. So there is some coal starting to be produced there, is good. Let's go ahead and jump over here and check actually how we're doing here. So production rate's not bad, 220. The production here has obviously been higher than 400 at some point, just because of the fact that the limit's at 800 and not 400, so we're down quite a bit. As we can see, a train's pulling in here, and it is it can carry so much, 169, which is a lot, and there's definitely not 169 iron here. So what I'm really guessing is that the shortage is on coal, it's not on iron, because there's plenty of room there for iron to be produced, and there's plenty of room in the north from Verzo for iron to be produced. So I'm guessing we're lacking on coal, that's really the thing. But again, there's capacity here as well for more coal, so I'm not really at all sure why things are moving so slowly, honestly. I think we are producing more steel than we were at the start of the episode, which is good, but again, I think we just need to wait and just let that develop. So what I'm going to do for the end of this episode is we're going to go ahead, and I realise this episode is quite short. One thing I've been doing recently is going ahead and creating, I think it's been like 40-minute episodes, which is good, but at the same time I don't have 40 minutes of my day to go ahead and watch a video, and that's something which I'm very aware of. People also watch other YouTubers. I know a lot of people who watch me watch ConflctNerd Dylan and maybe some other members of the family or other YouTubers out with the family, so I don't want to go ahead and take up all your time. And 40-minute videos, if I see a 40-minute video, then I usually only watch like the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes. I'm just thinking of Optic Big Timer here, his H1Z1 videos. I don't have time to watch these 40-minute videos. I usually just watch the start where he gets a lot of kills and the end where he gets a lot of kills. That's really the most exciting part for me. But as we can see here, the farms are doing great. I think it's because we've connected production's at 0. Why is the production at 0? Why am I not seeing any trains up here? Okay, there's an issue which I need to go ahead and resolve. Alright, so the trains are back in action, which is good, and that's probably why we're getting a inaccurate amount of goods up here. However, before there was too much grain, and I want to go ahead and start to produce some plastic over here at the chemical factory. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring in grain into here so we can start to produce plastic and supply the plastic into Aberdeen. I think that'd be quite a good idea. But right now I'm not liking the setup of the railway. So right now we've got the goods line which comes in and it sort of all amalgamates and comes through Elgin here, which I actually quite like the crossover. I know it's maybe not the most profitable, but as we can see here, these two trains are too close together. That's one thing which I need to go ahead and resolve. So what I'm going to do is, to be fair, you're actually full, so I can't really get on at that, so there's no needs. But after the crossover, on the right here we have got the passengers and on the left we've got the goods. However, I don't want these goods to unnecessarily pass through the station here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an extra branch of this line, which is is it unnecessary? I don't know if it's unnecessary, but what I want to do is either, I think we're going to have to go ahead. Do I need a second street connection? What is this here? So this is an oil well, which, no, this is going to make use of this station eventually as well. So I can't have something passing around there. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go ahead and create a better junction than that, that's for sure. But we're going to have it go around the back of the factory here at Elgin. And it's basically going to run parallel to the passenger railway line, then it's going to connect back around the other side. I just don't want any trains unnecessarily going through here. And the problem is, you would be like, okay, just go ahead and upgrade it so there's 2 empty tracks in the middle, but unfortunately the way it wants to upgrade, it's upgrading into the factory, not away from the factory. So that's a bit of a problem, which unfortunately there's no real obvious way to go ahead and resolve. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to build a railway line which comes round the back here, then it's going to have to rejoin on, which that's not actually that a bad thing, because once it comes round this corner, then if it continues straight, it will intersect the railway line anyway, so it's really not that a bad thing at all. So I build that corner there, then we build this nice straight segment here again going at a decent mile per hour. Then what it's going to do is it's going to slowly join in just over time. I mean, there's no rush into like that, and as we can see, it'll join in there, so it's not actually that a big issue at all. It just means that there's going to be an extra junction here, and there's going to be 1 or 2 extra trains on the goods line coming down for Thurso, but the line's long enough and I think it can support it. If it can't support it, then we'll go ahead and add in an extra line. That's just the bottom line. That's something which I always say, the bottom line, and it's kind of funny when you're talking about railway lines. Right, so that's me gone ahead and built this whole railway line, which again, it goes round the back, as I said, then continues along here. Now, this section of track here right now is redundant, however, going ahead and seeing how much food this produces and what I said, we can see the production's up to 1,000 now. That is just insane, and that is a figure which I've not seen in a ridiculously long time. We can maybe use this section of the line to carry food into Aberdeen, so that's why it's being left. Yes, right now it's redundant, but I don't know how long it is going to be redundant for. Now, while I was doing that, the game was on ×3 speed, so this backlog is now cleared, but now there's going to be an underlog, which is going to be a problem, so there's no production. So we're not really going to get to see too much effect of this line for a long time, but now that section of track is now created, we can go ahead and actually create the line. So it's going to be going from Thurso South, then it's going to be going all the way over here to, I'm guessing this is Aberdeen something. This was actually probably, I'm just trying to think how old this station actually is, because it was built when the North Food Line was built, and that was maybe built before the passenger line up to Aberdeen, though I'm not 100% sure. So this is called Aberdeen North, so not 100% sure on that fact, if I'm totally honest, but as you can see, the railway line has now been built successfully, runs along here, then it merges into here, and then it should just follow, yep, it follows the exact same Northern Food Line, and it's going to work out totally fine. So this railway line is going to get the title of the Northern Chemical Line, and that will be able to go into operation very shortly. Now, I'm not actually going to put it into operation in this episode just because these farms have essentially just ceased up right now. So what I need to do is I need to wait for these farms to go back into production, which as soon as this wheat is cleared, they will go back into production. Then we'll go ahead and get it started up in the next episodes. What I want to do to end this episode, and I realise I've not done a lot of building in this episode, I just want to go over 1 or 2 things in the Central Belt. So if we fly down to the Central Belt, we can see that there is, I actually want to talk about passengers, which is something which is shocking, I know. Talking about passengers in the goods episodes, it's something which I really want to draw attention to. So last episode we really didn't actually do too much, if I'm totally honest. We just worked on Stirling essentially, and Stirling, as we can see here, there's a lot of traffic building up here, which isn't maybe the best thing, but none of my buses run by here, so it's not really affecting them, plus I've got all bus lanes. I just want to go ahead and basically show how profitable my bus lines are now doing. Now we've gone ahead and made these modifications at Stirling. So unfortunately some of these buses are in a little bit of traffic here, and that's probably my problem, which I'll go ahead and solve in a second actually. That's probably why this route isn't actually doing as well, but if we jump down to here we can see that the Edinburgh to Perth, that is one of the routes. We sorted out Perth as well, I guess, in the last episode too. Edinburgh Perth is doing extremely well. The Edinburgh Stirling is at 300k now. These aren't absolutely amazing profits. I know amazing profits are like in the millions, you'd really classify it as. But the contrast to where they were at, they were in like negative 500,000 to negative $1 million. It's a real big difference. So as we can see, that is much better. The Glasgow Stirling is doing much better. The Perth Pitlochry, which that was at like minus 2 million. That is gone ahead, just because again we've split the stations into 2 in Perth, it's doing much better, and then the Perth Stirling as well. That's actually even in the profit, even with a little bit of traffic here, and minor things like that really can make a large difference, but overall, the majority of the buses are in the profit. The buses that are actually not in the profit, the Edinburgh Dunbar, that's understandable because it's competing with a train and a tram. I'll go ahead and focus on that at some point. It's actually in the borders now we're starting to have a few issues, which we really need to go ahead and resolve, but in general all buses are near enough back in the green, though the Dundee Perth, this one is at a loss of 2.28 million, which is catastrophic. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look at that for the end of this episode. Now, I'm not really at all sure why this is doing so bad. I think it's because we need to go ahead and change this bus station type out. But I mean, even though it's not actually, the queues aren't that bad, so that's the thing. And I'm very surprised. So what happens really with this route here is we'll go ahead and look on the route map. So that's probably the reason why it's doing so bad. So ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this episode up here. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please leave a like rating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort out this Dundee Perth for the next episode. Definitely needs, I think it's just this whole hoo-ha and all the junctions which is causing it a major problem. And I'm also going to go ahead and change the bus station here as well to the bus station that we usually use. And I think that should go ahead and reduce the traffic issues. As we can see right now, the buses which come into here, which are the Pitlochry bus and also the Stirling bus, they're doing extremely well. Again, it's just this bus station. This bus station all round is just so much better. Anyway, that's all for this video, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you very much for watching. My name is ConflctNerd Callum, and I'm out.